Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Writing Center workshop. My name is Krista, and today we're going to be talking about how to improve transitions in an essay. First, let's get comfortable with the purpose of transitions. Writers utilize transitions to signal a shift in focus between ideas for their audience. This allows an audience to flow through ideas seamlessly and understand the connection between topics or concepts. Transitions can be as simple as a word or phrase to as complex as a sentence, and we will discuss both types throughout this workshop. Here are some common types of transitions you might already be familiar with. Some transition phrases mark a change in time for chronologically ordered events or ideas, like next the baker mixes the dry ingredients, or subsequently the melted icing dripped off the cake. Other transition words can be used to add more evidence or ideas to the current paragraph. In addition, furthermore, and for example are common ways we can do this. In order to point out key ideas from a paragraph or essay, summary or conclusion transitions can be implemented as well. Finally, the chef opened her first restaurant in the French Quarter. In brief, as a result, these are ways that we can mark conclusions or show main ideas from an essay. There are countless transition words and phrases that can be useful in essay writing. Here are just a snapshot of them. However, sometimes these short transitions are too simple or too vague to show the connection between paragraphs. In those cases, we might need to use a full sentence to transition between paragraphs. Transitions act as a sign for a reader to show them how ideas are connected. This makes them especially important between paragraphs because they help writers connect different topics to one another. Transitions between paragraphs are often full sentences because they can help writers discuss more complex connections, similarities, or differences between the concepts in their paragraph. When we're getting started, it's important to look at what might be similar between the topics of each paragraph. This will serve as a basis for how to show the shift to your reader. Looking at these two sentences, what might be a similar topic or idea? In paragraph 1, we conclude with a successful baker must make sure their measurements are accurate. Paragraph 2, we begin with, furthermore, the oven temperature in a recipe allows cakes to bake correctly. These paragraphs could be connected by the theme of measuring, whether that be measuring ingredients or measuring temperature. They could be connected through the idea of a successful bake. But for this revision, we'll look at how these paragraphs both seem to be talking about following a recipe or being precise in baking. To revise this, possible transitions can use the similarity to link the ideas of each paragraph. A successful baker must make sure their measurements are accurate. Just as accuracy of ingredients is important to making delicious desserts, following the recipe for precise baking temperatures also allows cakes to bake correctly. The revision more clearly uses information from the previous paragraph to link to the new paragraph, and we use accuracy, which is in blue here, or precision to connect these two paragraphs. One tip when transitioning between paragraphs is to think them as connecting the old with the new. In other words, they help connect the previous paragraph with the current paragraph. Sometimes this means a transition might need to highlight the differences in a paragraph rather than the similarities. So for this example, we have, after tasting all the recipes, the judges decided that the baker's dessert was too dry. The baker had incorporated the flavors of his cake better than any other contestant. Here, there's a chronological transition. Perhaps in the end, the baker had incorporated the flavors of his cake better than the other contestants. But it might be more useful to use a transition that marks how these paragraphs are different from one another. What makes them contrast? The following revision shows us another way to connect them. So here we have revision 2, which shows us ways that we can use a conclusion sentence to transition, and revision 3, which shows us how we can use our topic sentence as a transition between paragraphs. In revision 2, we write, after tasting all the recipes, the judges decided that the baker's dessert was too dry. While the texture of the dessert was unsatisfactory, the flavor of the cake was the best. The baker had incorporated the flavors of his cake better than other contestants. In this way, we use the transition as a conclusion to transition between the idea of the unsatisfactory portions of the cake to the satisfactory portions, the ones that succeeded. And in this, we're using texture and flavor to kind of contrast. In revision 3, we have, after tasting all the recipes, the judges decided that the dessert's texture was too dry. Despite the cake's lackluster texture, the flavors of the baker's cake were the best. In this case, we're contrasting, we're using the word of texture to kind of compare these paragraphs. The revision uses the contrast between the paragraphs to signal a shift to the readers. In this case, the shift is from negative characteristics of the dessert to positive ones. We're moving from the idea of texture, and we're repeating that theme or idea in our transition phrase underlined here. And then we end on our main claim of the second paragraph: the flavors of the baker's cake were the best. Transition sentences can be the conclusion or topic sentence between paragraphs, and you can play around with what works best for your specific case. Sometimes you need a little of both, and sometimes you need just one, but there's no right or wrong way to do it as long as you include a transition that shows how these paragraphs are linked to one another. Transitions should also be specific. This is a key component to writing a successful transition. They need to let your reader know where the next paragraph will lead. So in this example, we have the location of the chef's new restaurant contributed to its success. Additionally, the restaurant doubled its profits. Here you might think additionally works just fine, it's adding new evidence, but these paragraphs actually have a more clear connection that we can tell our reader. So in the revision, we write, the busy location of the chef's new restaurant in the French Quarter contributed to its financial success. Shortly after moving to the bustling location, the new restaurant increased its profits twofold. The first example is not specific enough to show how the ideas of each paragraph are related. The revision more clearly shows how location and profit are connected to this example transition. Additionally, transitions should be connected to the thesis or main claim of any piece of writing. In this case, we have an example thesis. The world-renowned chef is my favorite chef because of her delicious fusion food, focus on sustainability, and community outreach. So an example transition that might occur between two paragraphs is the chef's use of farm-to-table creations and local organic ingredients won her the Sustainable Restaurant Award in 2019. In addition to using local ingredients, this chef cares about her local community and delivers meals to low-income and unhoused individuals every week. In the first example, the transition focuses on the theme or idea of locality rather than the main thesis. The thesis is focused on why the chef is the best or why she's the author's favorite. To connect this transition to the thesis, we might revise it as follows. The chef's use of farm-to-table creations and local organic ingredients won her the Sustainable Restaurant Award of 2019. In addition to the chef's many sustainability accolades, she has also won praise for her community outreach, which donates meals to low-income and unhoused individuals every week. In the first example, the transition focuses on the theme or idea of locality rather than the main thesis. Through the revision, we can see how winning awards or winning praise is the connecting theme. This idea more closely links the main claim of each paragraph to the main claim of the essay in the thesis. For a reader, transitions signal how one paragraph is related to another. Because transitions spell out the link between corresponding paragraphs, they can help reinforce organizational patterns and ensure ideas are flowing logically. If the connection between paragraphs still feels clunky or really difficult to find, there might be information that's missing, or maybe these paragraphs are best in a different order. Transitions really help an essay feel unified and interconnected rather than disjointed, separated, or choppy. So when we're moving between paragraphs, we want paragraph 1 to transition nicely to paragraph 2, and so on and so forth, until your essay feels unified and connected through that main thesis and through the main ideas of each paragraph. And the way that you can organize that is up to you, but making sure each of these connected is key. Wrapping up, transitions can be words, phrases, or sentences. They help writers illustrate the shift in ideas or concepts to their audience. They should connect new concepts and paragraphs, and they can be topic or conclusion sentences, or a bit of both. Transitions should link the old information with the new, they should be specific, and they should be connected to the thesis. They can also strengthen the structure of an essay. If transitions are still making you feel stressed about writing, or you just want to discuss your flow of ideas with another student, make an appointment at the Writing Center. And as always, happy writing.